I was sifting through a box of old bills in Mom's garage when I unfolded the probate document and saw the county seal at the bottom. It was dated March 3, 2025, under estate of Michael Carter, and listed the family home on Laurel Drive, where I'd helped pay the HVAC repair. After last July's blackout plus 3 retirement accounts totaling $392,000 and $85,000 in government bonds, all left to my son Sammy Carter. My name wasn't there. Not even a single heirloom. I sat on the paint can, heart thudding. I knew exactly how much I'd given, because I'd tracked every penny. My bank app showed monthly transfers of $365, electricity, and gas proof in the memo line. April 2024 utilities, with a screenshot of the Canade bill attached. Next came $480 for a frame window repairs, after that winter freeze plumber's invoice. A 2437, dated January 12, 2023. In November 2022, I'd wired $1,450 at 11:58 p.m., labeled mortgage, when Dad collapsed, clutching his chest, and I called my bank from the ER waiting room to clear the funds before midnight. I still have the hospital wristband, with his name, and the nurse's log noting his oxygen saturation. 2 weeks after I paused my contributions to save for my own condo, I woke to a text from Mom at 6:47 a.m. The mortgage is due. No greeting, no hope you're well. Just that line in our muted family group chat. I stared at it while sipping coffee, then reopened my app. By exporting the CSV, I built a spreadsheet: utilities in cornflower blue, repairs in forest green, medical in tomato red, emergency in amber. It totaled $87,653.49 over 60 months. I returned to the garage, clutching that colored spreadsheet and the deceased's probate. Mom was sorting tax returns. I laid the will beside a faded utility notice from 2019 PG&E's. Disconnect pending stamped in bold, and she said without glancing up,
"It's old news, Adam."
I tapped the spreadsheet, a row from June 2021, showing $760 for septic tank service, the receipt still in her file. Another from April 15, 2023, $1,700 for Dr. Alvarez's dental surgery. Invoice edit the $4,201 neatly filed, and the midnight mortgage transfer that night. Dad had whispered, Sammy deserved everything. She didn't flinch, she didn't apologize. She just folded the probate and returned to the tax forms. I closed my eyes for a second, recalling Dad's voice under morphine. Your brother showed ambition. He deserves this. I remembered the flicker of pride on his pale face. I didn't respond to the mortgage as due. Instead, I grabbed my clipboard, where I'd handwritten every transfer, date, and memo, and walked out of the garage, into the golden afternoon. My phone buzzed with a reminder. Family meeting. Saturday. I deleted it. I didn't need to explain. Everything was there in my hands. Stamped documents, numbered bank transactions, hospital records, utility warnings, in a spreadsheet with every line item. It wasn't a feeling anymore. It was fact. I stepped into the sun, the weight of my service finally lifting, knowing exactly what I'd paid, and what they truly owed me. I can still hear Mom's voice over the clatter of the kitchen sink. Sammy's sensitive, you're the strong one. I was 12, standing on a milk crate to reach the faucet, rinsing dishes while she gingerly flexed her surgically repaired knee, the crutch propped in the corner. I remember the doctor's bill taped to our fridge, $1,200 for the ACL repair, copay $150 covered by me with a quick bank transfer. That afternoon, I drove her in my beat-up Civic with the cracked windshield 10 minutes across town to her follow-up appointment. Sammy didn't even glance up from his lesson. His violin's bowstrokes echoed through the house, as I sat beside her in the sterile exam room for 2 hours, clutching her hand until she said, "Thank you, Adam," and I nodded, swallowing the ache in my chest. When I was 16, my acceptance letter to the National Youth Design Camp lay on my desk, a crisp envelope embossed with the camp's logo and a note, "Full scholarship awarded." I slid it across the table at breakfast. Dad stirred his coffee, glanced at the envelope, then at the $120 check next to Sammy's violin competition form. "We can't afford 2 tickets," he said, voice low but firm. I remembered the torn subway transfer stub I'd held $45 round trip and how I crumpled it that night. Before emailing the camp coordinator, regrettably, I must decline. Sammy beamed at his own certificate of merit, holding it out for everyone to see, and Mom murmured, "You'll have other chances, Adam." The guilt in her eyes made me fold the letter and hide it beneath my mattress. On my 18th birthday, I found Dad's business ledger open on his desk, pages marked in his precise handwriting. Adam, no inheritance. Primary income source. Sammy beneficiary. He closed it quickly when I entered, then leaned forward in that worn leather chair, cigarette ash falling onto the blotter. "Don't expect inheritance," he whispered, tapping the ledger with his pen. "You work, Sammy, he'll need help." I traced the indentation of the pen on the page proof of his words, and nodded, the ache returning. College was a patchwork of loans and part-time shifts. One night I printed my tuition bill, $6,200 due in 2 weeks, then emailed Mom. "I'm a bit short," she replied. An hour later, with confirmation, sent $3,000. "Love you." I logged into my bank, another transfer labeled April tuition. Meanwhile, Sammy's Spotify playlist of violin concertos played softly from our shared computer as I coded websites late into the night to cover the balance. Now, standing in my apartment, I flipped through a well-worn journal from that summer before college. One entry reads, "Gave up internship to drive Mom to chemo, $1,500 missed. It's okay, she needs me." The page is smudged with tears and coffee rings, proof I lived it. When I look back at those moments, the dentist bills, the bus tickets, the ledger, the scholarship letter, I see the pattern, duty without reward. And I know exactly why I stayed silent for so long, and exactly why my silence ends now. I was midway through reheating leftovers on March 10th, when my phone buzzed with an unfamiliar number labeled Wellsgate Bank. I answered, and the representative said, "Mr. Carter, this is Linda Shaw from Wellsgate Home Lending. Our records show the mortgage on 47 Maple Street, of which your cosigner is 90 days past due. Late payments are now reflecting on your credit report." I glanced at the bank's correspondent letter dated March 1, stamped final notice, which I'd found crumpled on the kitchen counter. The letter specified missed payments for December, January, and February, proof in black and white that I was still legally bound. That evening, I dug the 2009 refinance packet out of my filing cabinet. The front page bore the heading Refinance Agreement. Dad's signature and mine scrawled beneath paragraphs of legal text. Page 6 contained the notary's seal, July 15, 2009, with the clause, "Co-signer assumes full liability for all obligations." I ran my finger along my younger signature, recalling the night I sat at the dining table in the lamplight, thinking I was saving the family home. Now that signature felt like a trap. 2 days later, I found a yellowed envelope in the mailbox from Maplewood Insurance. The notice inside, postmarked February 2, 2025, read Policy Expiration Notice, Policy S, PC 5473. Renewal required by March 15, 2025. I called the number on the letterhead and spoke with Marcus, who confirmed, "Your home insurance lapsed 3 months ago. We sent renewal forms on March 1 and April 15 to your address, but they were returned insufficient forwarding." I checked the return envelopes, both stamped "Roommate moved evidence." They never reached me. Proof that the policy expired unnoticed. Determined to understand the full scope, I logged into the county clerk's portal on March 15. The deed for 47 Maple Street listed Robert Carter and Adam Carter under co-owners. I clicked through recorded liens, the original 2000 mortgage, the refinanced 2009 lien, and 2 notice of default entries dated January 5 and February 20, 2025. My name was there in every line, undeniable proof of my ongoing liability. I confronted Mom that night. "Why didn't you tell me?" I asked, showing her the portal screen on my phone. She hesitated, then whispered, "I thought Sammy would handle it." That same evening, I called Sammy. My calls went straight to voicemail. The next day, Mom left a voice message. "Please, we can sort this out together," but her tears didn't erase the evidence. I researched how to remove a cosigner. The bank required either refinancing solely under the primary borrower's name, or selling the property. Both options demanded all parties' signatures, and without Sammy's cooperation, he'd moved overseas and was unresponsive. Nothing could proceed. Hiring an attorney would cost at least $15,000 plus court fees. I pulled up my credit report on March 18. My score had fallen 20 points since January. Each data point: phone calls, mailed notices, online records confirmed this wasn't an emotional manipulation. It was a legally binding cage, signed in ink and enforced by statute. I closed my laptop, heart heavy, fully aware that until Sammy re-engaged or the house sold, I was trapped on the mortgage. There was no escaping a contract I'd signed as a favor, one that had now set the terms for my freedom. I never intended to turn my parents' house into a makeshift evidence room, but when Hanan arrived with her paralegal binder and smartphone, everything changed. The first breakthrough was in the county archives, a yellowed manila envelope stamped "Confidential Probate Case 2321. Inside was the will draft. Michael Avery, Dad's estate lawyer, had handwritten on firm letterhead and dated June 12, 2018. It clearly divided assets 50-50 between Sammy and me, listing our names side by side under beneficiaries. Margin notes in Dad's looping script read, "Hold until post-op." That same afternoon, Hanan called Avery at 3:17 p.m. He confirmed he never heard back after drafting that version. His calendar entry, time-stamped June 13, read, "Discuss will with Carter family, no follow-up." That letterhead and timestamp proved the draft existed. Next, Hanan and I crept into the attic, under a single light bulb. Behind old camping gear and a trunk of photo albums, we found another document, a crisp, unsigned will on bright white bond paper, its header matching Avery's draft, but without his signature. In the margin, in Dad's shaky handwriting, were the words "to file after surgery," and an arrow pointing to the signature line, dated February 8, 2025. The date aligned with the hospital discharge summary we'd obtained, which recorded Dad's acute confusion and delirium on that very day. Finding that draft beneath Grandma's wedding photos sealed the fact that Dad had intended equal shares. That same evening, we phoned Mrs. Delgado, our elderly neighbor and longtime notary for the official will. She met us on her creaking porch at 7 p.m., rocking gently. Her notary stamp on the official will showed February 10, 2025, 2 days after Dad's admittance to St. Mary's for a severe mental breakdown. In a recorded voice note, she admitted Sammy had brought Dad to her mobile notary van and guided him line by line. Her notary journal entry, complete with stamp number and fee receipt, matched the document's date, proving the notarization occurred during Dad's compromised state. The final piece came from the dusty corner of Dad's garage, a scuffed iPod with a single voice memo dated February 9 at 2:43 p.m. I hit play and heard Dad's raspy, unsteady voice. "I don't want Adam thinking I love him less. Salma said we'd fix it later." A cough, then promise I meant 50-50. That broken promise, recorded just hours before the official notary visit, was the clearest admission. To tie it all together, Hanan uncovered a receipt from Delgado's notary van, $75 paid in cash on February 10, 2025, labeled "Will Execution." 2 days earlier, Dad's hospital admission record showed he was incapable of informed consent. With Avery's rejected draft, the unsigned attic copy, Delgado's stamp and journal, the hospital records, and Dad's own voice memo, the paper trail left no room for doubt. Sammy's orchestration of the final will wasn't speculation, it was documented sabotage, signed and sealed while Dad's judgment lay under sedation. And now, with each dated page and recorded word, justice felt suddenly within reach. I saw Sammy's first attack at 8:14 p.m. last Friday, when his Instagram story popped up a cropped screenshot of my invoice spreadsheet titled "Brother Billing His Parents for Love." He'd zoomed in on the red highlighted row from November 22, 2022, $1,450 transferred at 11:58 p.m., with the memo "Mortgage after ER," and blurred out my explanatory notes. The timestamp in the corner, 8:12:47 p.m., matched the exact moment he posted. My heart sank as I watched the view count climb past 3,000 and the replies roll in. "Wow, is this for real?" Seems heartless. By 9:02 p.m., our family WhatsApp thread, labeled Carter Clan, had blown up. Salma's message read, "I didn't raise you to be this cruel, Adam. You're tearing us apart." She quoted my spreadsheet's dark green mom dental surgery line. $1,700 wire on April 15, 2023, accusing me of profit-driven family care. I still have that message archived. No one asked me to explain the dentist's paid receipt from Dr. Alvarez's office, stamped and signed, showing the same date. A week later, Sammy announced on March 12 that he'd been invited to the Heartland Voices podcast. I listened to the April 3rd episode. The host, Mark Ellis, asked how did it feel to handle every medical appointment alone, and Sammy replied, "Adam just sat behind his computer crunching numbers." The recording, available on SoundCloud, showed Mark's prompt, "Tell us about the night you drove Mom to the ER." He framed my spreadsheets as emotional coldness, even though I had driven Mom's Civic through a March snowstorm to Mount Sinai ER at 2 a.m., documented in my phone's map history and the hospital's visitor logs. Then on April 10th, I got a call from HR at my firm Carter Tech. Rebecca's voice was cautious. "Adam, I received a screenshot alleging you're mentally unstable and seeking revenge through fraud. Are you okay?" She'd attached an email forwarded from concerned family with the miscaptioned spreadsheet. I had to explain that those were legitimate expense records, each tied to plumber invoices, utility bills, and dental receipts. I still have her follow-up email relief. "Glad to hear you're safe. Let me know if you need support." Meanwhile, I noticed Mrs. Delgado, our elderly neighbor, stop her monthly cake deliveries after Sammy's next story on April 15th. A grainy video of her saying, "I can't believe he'd broadcast family finances like that." I'd driven her to the grocery store for 10 years, proof in my calendar invites and her signed thank you letters. Aunt Carol texted me on April 18th, "You embarrassed me. I have to distance myself." Her message cited Sammy's quote, "She ruined everything." I still have that on my phone under blocked contacts. That night I drafted my own public response, screenshots of Sammy's icy cuts alongside unaltered bank transfers, showing June 2021 septic repair, matched to the plumber's invoice, as $4,512. A link to the voice memo dated February 9th with Dad saying, "I promise 50-50. I hit publish on my blog, Character Assassination vs. Cold Hard Facts. As the page counter ticked upward, I felt something shift. Truth backed by receipts couldn't be silenced by stories alone. I sat at the heavy oak conference table on June 12, the same one Dad used for Sunday dinners, staring at the settlement offer printed on Avery and Cross letterhead. It laid out the estate's value: $620,000 for the house, $180,000 in retirement accounts, $50,000 in bonds, adding to $850,000. My lawyer pointed to the line, 30% of estate to Adam Carter equals $255,000, with a note that signing would drop all challenges. I ran my finger down the paragraph that barred family discussion, then asked to strike the clause preventing personal communications with family members. The attorneys revised it in red ink, and I initialed beside the new language at 4:18 p.m. The notary's embossed seal and timestamp on the page were proof the agreement was official. That same evening at 6:45, we gathered in the living room, under the soft glow of Dad's old Tiffany lamp. Keenan connected her phone to the speaker and opened the file labeled Dad Voice Memo, 20,925. Amphora. Dad's frail, rasping voice crackled through the room. "I don't want Adam thinking I love him less. Salma said we'd fix it later." He paused, his breath audible, then whispered, "Promise I meant 50-50. The recording, time-stamped February 9 at 2:43 p.m., was proof that Dad's true intentions had been subverted. The room was deathly silent, until Salma's shoulders convulsed in sobs. She covered her face and apologized, voice trembling, "I never thought Adam needed anything because you never asked." Her words, echoing her August 14th message in the family chat, confirmed she'd assumed my silence was my choice, not my defeat. Sammy's jaw clenched. He finally broke the quiet at 7:02 p.m. "I did what was best for the family," he said, eyes fixed on the Persian rug. He offered no apology, proof that he still stood by the final will he'd engineered. At 7:30 p.m., I picked up the certified check number 1047, dated June 12, 2025, for $255,000, and the signed NDA, now missing the gag clause on personal communications. I signed in black ink, scanned the last page, and sent a PDF copy to my lawyer at 7:36 p.m. The click of the pen closing the file marked my final exit. I stood, buttoned my navy blazer, and announced, "I'm done." No one followed me as I walked out. The sound of my shoes on the hardwood floors was the only response. 3 weeks later, on July 5, I unlocked the door to my new architecture studio Reclamation. The lease agreement, signed and notarized on June 25, hung framed beside the entrance. Inside, the space was pristine, except for one framed photo on a pedestal by the window, me at 7, grinning in front of our backyard treehouse, clutching my crayon-drawn blueprint. The print's corner was smudged with crepe paper from last year's Christmas, proof it had traveled with me. I centered it under a skylight, so morning light would illuminate the roof's slanted line, the same angle I used in my first building design sketch as a teenager. I stepped back, feeling the weight lift from my shoulders. For the first time, my smile in the reflection was genuine proof that I'd reclaimed not just an inheritance, but myself.